Psalm 23. God has set a table for two. One chair for himself, the king, and the second one, believe it or not, is for you. But of course, the enemy wants a seat at the table too. Anxiety wants a seat, envy wants a seat, worry and frustration want a seat. But don't give the enemy a seat at your table. Look up, go up. You're invited up the mountain of God. Move towards infinite power, splendor, love, and beauty, healing and restoration. When we gaze upon the Almighty, we are changed by the captivation. Empowered to take every thought captive in the battle of the mind. Shame is silenced by His glory, and our future redefined. So draw near to Jesus. The shepherd is good. Our God is faithful. Take the place prepared for you. And don't give the enemy a seat at your table.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me on Solomon's Temple. My name is Solomon Izang Ashams, and you're welcome to another broadcast episode where we get to honestly look at issues that we could learn quite a lot from it. So to everyone who's my subscriber, thank you so much. And if you are not subscribed already, what are you waiting for? Please go right now and click on the subscribed so you can have access, to other videos. And also don't forget to go to notification button and click on it. That way you're going to be notified anytime we're doing a broadcast or anything that is uploaded. So in Solomon's Temple, we say things just the way that it is. We do not hesitate to say the truth because only the truth can set us free. So please be ready for a very honest discussion this evening. And I see quite a lot of people are here already. I got you. I see you quite a lot. I see Kakiso here. He's saying, always good to watch your channel, Uncle Solomon. Your topics are fresh every day. Keep it up, sir. Brits in the house, all the way from Brits. Victoria from the UK. Glad to catch this one. Thank you, Victoria. Adelaide from Gauteng here in Johannesburg. Mwape from Zambia. And we got Lloyd from Malawi. Tess from London. And PUA from the UK. So we got, quite a lot of United Kingdom people in here today. Peaches from the Caribbean. Thank you for coming in. Alex from Uganda. Mirugia from the Netherlands. That is Holland. Thank you. Samantha from British Virgin Island. The British Virgin Island, that is another Caribbean area. Thank you. Admire, who is also here. Admire is saying, how do you come across these stories? I'm a journalist, so that's all I can answer. That's the only answer I can give you. It's my job. So we don't have the same kind of job. I'm trained to get stories. I'm trained to receive stories. I got Lavina from Jamaica. Thank you. Caribbean people are taking over now. Kenyans, beware. Today is going to be lit. Bishop Side Chick. Well, Palace, you're here. Quite a lot for us to learn. And Kingspan here, also from my city, just in Nigeria, Plateau State. Thank you for spreading the word. From Eswatini's Hope. Malaya is also here. Evelyn is here. Yeah, we got quite a lot of people. I see you. See Adagun from Los Angeles in the US. Ehidum from the United Arab Emirates. Thank you guys. Thank you, every one of you guys who are here. Aminata from Philadelphia. Ekundayo Ajalo from Sierra Leone in West Africa. And also Cameron Betty from Norway and Sherry from Germany. So thank you, every one of you guys that is here. Well, in the next 40-50 minutes or so, I have a guest who is backstage in the studio already that I'm going to bring to discuss a very straight issue. 20 years as a bishop's side chick. 20 years as a bishop's girlfriend. Now, some of you guys will begin to jump into being on the side of the bishop or being on the side of the girlfriend. That's not what we're here to discuss, right? As you saw what I wrote earlier on, this is a testimony, right? And what testimony does, Is testimony encourages us, corrects us, convicts us, or give us a direction. And my guest has this experience that I feel a lot of us who, especially ladies, need to learn from it. Even the men, you would have to learn not to be the next Bishop E. Wilson. So we're going to be talking about Bishop David E. Wilson. Some of you guys have come across, I think when I posted this on Facebook, someone was like, Bishop E. Wilson, is it the same bishop? That is the same bishop that gave this young lady, he gave her heads. So for the sake of YouTube, I'm not going to say what, wait, you know what the heads mean anyway, right? You know what the heads mean? It means what? Okay, oral sex, right? So I'm not going to dive into it, whatever, for the sake of YouTube. But this is the same bishop. There was, I think about a year ago or so, over a year ago or so, where he gave a young lady, and he came out trying to defend himself. That, no, I love sex. I'm a bishop that loves sex. But you are married, bishop. So someone said, no, I still have the video. So you can actually search his name and you're going to get in YouTube, you know, and you're going to get all that scenario where he gave a young lady heads. So, but tonight is not about that. You know, this is about sharing a testimony. So at this point, please help me welcome my guest, Teresa Graham. Thank you so much for joining me all the way from the United States of America. Which state are you precisely? Are you in Texas?
No, I'm in Arkansas, but actually I live on the state line. Right across the street is Texas.
Oh, wow. Very, very close.
Yes.
Thank you so much for just having the courage to feel that your story needs to be heard and your story would encourage somebody. In Africa, we do a lot of testimonies in churches, especially on Sundays, you know, where you have testimony time, you know, and what testimony does, it's like I said earlier, it encourages us, corrects, convicts us. I've had people's testimony and I get convicted from their testimony, and God begins to work in me to be able to correct certain things and to be able to see things in a different way. But tell us a little bit about yourself, a bit your background, Teresa.
Okay. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Greetings to you and your family and to the viewers. And I guess I can start with, I'm a grandmother, great-grandmother, have 3 kids, 7 grandkids, 6 great-grandkids. Now I'm 61 years old. When all of this started back in 1994, and it actually went on for 24 years.
24 years.
24 years. When I added up all the time, it was 24 years. And just to give you a background, you say, what can set a person up to even fall into something like this? We don't wake up and say, I'm going to have an affair with a pastor. When I met him, he was not a bishop yet. He was just an elder. But you don't wake up and say, I'm going to have an affair with a pastor. I'm going to be with a married man for 24 years off and on. You have to understand my background. I come from a background of, I'm one of 5 kids. My mother is gone now. My father's gone now. But my mother was actually married 7 times. And in her trying to find her happiness in life and find her peace, we were put into a lot of, you guys just going to have to bear with me because I don't know how to be fake. I don't know how to sugarcoat things.
Please.
So I just know how to speak forwardly. I do understand that in the African culture, a lot of things are hidden and not spoke about, but I only know how to do it from my perspective. So please, I'm not trying to offend anybody. I just want you to get some light and some truth. And I think that's what's wrong in the body of Christ is we don't deal with truth. We don't deal with reality. We don't teach people how to live this thing called life and live this thing called salvation. But her going through her changes, trying to find her happiness, caused me to be molested and raped and sexualized from the age 4 up to the age of 13 by not only one of her friends, but 3 of her different friends and boyfriends. So when you're sexualized and when you're brought into sexual activity as a young age, you develop low self-esteem. I had 3 sisters, and I wonder what made me different than my sisters. What made them come to me and not my sisters? It must be something wrong with me. Plus, I was always told that my father and my older sister father was the only man that she ever really loved, and he left her and their marriage broke up because of me, because he did not believe I was his, even though I looked just like him. Now, so you have the already from, now I can go back and make the correlation already from this kid of 4 years old. I'm dealing with a spirit of rejection. I'm dealing with a spirit of low self-esteem. I'm dealing with you're not good enough. Your own father didn't want to claim you and believe you were his. Now, growing up, I didn't have the vocabulary or the language to put all this into words, but I knew what I felt on the inside. I felt invisible. I felt that I wasn't worthy. I felt that I was dirty because no matter what, if we were at a party or whatever, some grown man was always trying to touch and feel and handle me in a way that he had no business handling me in. Okay. So as a result of that, I had my first child at 12 years old.
12 years of age. At
12 years old, that passed away at birth. And this is my first time, besides maybe a couple of people, that I've ever told anybody that. But I just want to be honest about it.
Yeah,
my first child at 12 years old, that no one knew about it, that I had in the toilet, in the bathroom, because I didn't even know that I was pregnant. Okay. So
you were just a child.
Yes. And, I can remember my mom coming home with this. This was after this had happened. And I would miss so much school because she had a baby late in life. And she didn't have a babysitter. And she would say, you have to take care of the baby. And one time, the little boy who I was talking to, we didn't even really know about boyfriend and girlfriend. I'm 13, 14. He stayed out of school. And we're all laying across the bed watching a talk show. No sex, no nothing. We saw the front door open through the mirror in the hallway, and she came in. Oh, my God. So he had to leave. My mom took the broomstick, the mop stick, and the dust mop stick, tied them together, called her friend and said, you better come before I kill her. And she beat me. Oh, my God. She beat me until my face was lopsided, until I had bruises that were burst open. She beat me so I actually passed out, and she beat me back conscious. Then the friend came. All that weekend, she had me cleaning up. She would kick the chairs from up under me. And finally, my older sister says, don't hit my sister anymore. You have always beat on her so much. Do not hit my sister anymore. She beat me so that I had a fever and had to go to bed. I couldn't go to school because I was malformed, and they would say, what happened to you? I could not even hold a pencil to write from blocking the sticks. But this is what I grew up under. And by the time I was 17 and graduating high school, actually by the time I was 20 years old, I had my 3 kids that I have now.
By 20.
By 20.
At
20 years old, I had 3 kids. And I had the second one at 15, the third one at 17, and the third one I was 20. So I have 3 kids, 1 son and 2 girls. And tell you, I'm 61. My oldest child I'll be 46 this year.
Wow.
So that's how close they are to my age. I've always had kids. I've raised kids all of my life. And one thing that I can say is that with the things I went through, it made me paranoid about my kids to the point where they should be crazy, because I was always afraid of somebody touching them or somebody misusing them. I can remember at 20, a young lady says, "Come to my church." Let me back up a little bit though. Because of all this sexual abuse and verbal abuse and physical abuse, at 18, I left the 2 kids I had with my mom, and I left home, and I actually went out on the streets and started being a prostitute. And I was like, if I'm just here for people to use me, then I'm going to make money off of it, and I'm going to use them. This is my logic, though. My logic, this is what my mind said. No, you don't let them use you. You use them. The guy that got me out there, I thought that he was just my love, a Nigerian guy. And I just thought that he was the love of my life.
Oh, another Nigerian guy.
Yes, another Nigerian guy. I thought he was the love of my life and this and that. So I left my kids. I go with him, and I never forget, we went to a club and we met this guy, and he brought him back to the room, and he says, "Well, this is what I want you to do, and if you love me, you'll do this." But the guy got mad because he only wanted him to spend so much time, and he wanted to spend this much time. But I got through that full night. It was a big fight ensued and everything. Got through that night and went on for about 2 weeks, turning these tricks and giving him the money. So he left one day, and I'm sitting there thinking, and I'm like, this guy don't care about me. And if I'm going to be making this money, why am I going to give it to him? So I took my clothes and moved down the street to another hotel, and I just started working for myself. And I did that for 1.5 years, and until I got kidnapped. And when I got kidnapped, the guy held me hostage for like 2 weeks. He had my clothes in his trunk, and I can't even go into all the detail on live about the things that he put me through, but how I got away from him, he had me actually working at a bar, and he would keep my clothes locked up, and he beat me because the thing was, he'd have sex with me, but he wanted me to have oral sex with him, and I wouldn't have oral sex with him. And so how I actually ended up getting away was the last time that he wanted me to have oral sex with him. No. So he choked me until I passed out. At that point, I thought, okay, I'm just dead now. But I did come to. When I came to, he was gone. He thought he had killed me. So I'm walking down the street. This is so stupid because it's like a movie. I'm walking down the street, and as I'm walking down the street, another car pulls up, and I'm like, "Hey, can you take me over on Figueroa, whatever?" I'm telling him, narrating the story to him. This guy pulls out a gun. I'm like, "Okay, God, just kill me now." He pulls out a gun. He takes me to an underground parking garage. He wants me to take off my shoes and socks, wiggle my toes while he jacks himself off, and tell him how bad he is. I do what he say. He didn't touch me or anything. When he's done, he takes me and drops me off where I asked him to. I go in this little restaurant that's there, and one of the guys who was there all the time, an ex-policeman, he says, "Teresa, we've been looking for you all over the place. Where have you been?" And I told him what happened, and he took me to his house that night, let me clean up, help me get my head back on straight, call my mom, got us communicating again. And that's how I ended up getting my 2 kids back from her and getting into my own place, going to work and everything. Well, we skipped to age 20. I got 3 kids. The young lady asked me to come to her church. I start going. It's a small church. She talks to me about my background. She says, "Oh, Teresa, I really need you to talk to my pastor. He can help you." I break down and I tell the pastor what's going on, that I'm going through depression, that I have left this lifestyle behind. The pastor says, well, he calls me at 2:00 in the morning. Well, what did you do with these men? Well, how much did you charge them? Well, do you think you could spend time with me? Come to find, yeah. So I break down and I tell this lady, Mary, look, this is what you told me to go to your pastor, but this is what he's doing. Mary breaks down crying and she says, this pastor's not married. She's heartbroken because she's been sleeping with this pastor for 10 years thinking they're going to get married. I'm like, oh my God. So at this point, I would not go back to the church. She's calling, come to the church. No, ma'am. So I started going to another church around the corner. Now, this Reverend Mosley, he's dead now, is the only man of God that I've ever met who walked what he taught. I'm laid off work. I go outside one morning to go to the store to get the kids some food. When I come back, this car pulls up. It is the guy who molested me the worst and took my virginity as a child. And he rolls down the window. Do you remember me? You ever run into somebody that did something to you and you're just shaking on the inside? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, you're still fine like you used to be. You're still hot. I'm going to come back later on. I'm in a hurry. I could not say anything. I go in the house and I'm thinking about this guy and I'm thinking about he's going to come to my house. He's going to mess with my children. Okay, this is what I'll do. I'll just go ahead. I'm tired of this. I'll kill myself and I'll kill my children. Because if I leave them, nobody's going to take care of them like me. I'm thinking I put them down for a nap. I light the stove, everything, turn on all the burners and the oven without the light. So the house will fill up with gas and I can strike a match. I said, we'll go instantly because it'll just blow up. Right. In the midst of that, something tells me, well, I know it was the Holy Ghost now. Says walk around the corner, go talk to Pastor Mosley. So I turn the gas off, I walk around the corner, I get to his office and I just bust out crying. I tell him what happens. And this man said, stop talking right now. He calls his wife. She comes to the church. He calls his secretary, tells her to go to my house. And he called this lady named Ernestine Meyer, who's a counselor. And she came and she put me and my kids in counseling. And that was the start of my kind of healing from my past, but I ran away from it when it got hard, when we start really digging into the hard stuff. So Skip, we're going to get up to Bishop now. Whole lot happened in between there.
But just hold on. Why, before we moved on, why initially you made a statement that Pastor Mosley is like a real truly a man of God.
Pastor
Mosley experience.
Pastor Mosley didn't try to sleep with me. Pastor Mosley didn't talk up under my dress. Pastor Mosley would not even let me finish the conversation because it was of a sexual nature until his wife was there. Yes. Pastor Mosley wanted to make sure I was okay. Pastor Mosley was not going to, he knew that he wasn't equipped to handle what I was going through, but he knew who to call to deal with what I was going through. He didn't think, I'm a man of God, so I can do this. He was like, I know you're hurting, but I'm not qualified to help you. Right now, the state that you're in, yes, God can do all things, but you need to talk to somebody who can meet your emotional and mental distress. And I have just a lady to help you. And when he called, she dropped everything and came. That's a man of God to me. Right. He did not stand up that next Sunday and preach what we had experienced. Nobody never knew what I was going through but me, him, his wife, and the secretary that he sent to the house to watch the kids. It was not gossiped about. It was not talked about. He did not hold it over my head. He didn't treat me any differently. If anything, the older ladies in that church, they drew me closer.
Right. Right.
They drew me close and they kept an eye on me. They never even said that they knew anything, or I'm sure the wife talked to the mothers of the church or whatever, but they drew me closer. And if they saw a pastor or a man in the church trying to get too close, they would pull me. Come here, baby. Come sit right here. And I never knew why they would do that. And after they would do that, that man who was trying to creep up would never try it again. They were like mother hens. That's why I say Pastor Mosley was a true man of God, because every other man of God that I know, they have tried to touch, feel, insinuate something. All of them. And it's like, you people need to understand something about pastors. It's a difference between charismatic and anointed. And most people flock to these churches because the pastor has charisma. Right. He has the gift of tongue. And he, like you said, he's an entertainer, but he does not have the anointing of God. And a lot of people, you just like you, if you're going to drop your children at a daycare center, you're going to do research. You're going to see, you're going to get recommendations. You're going to find out, is that person a good care provider? What's that person's history? We don't do that with pastors. We just take our and nowadays we don't even take our kids to church. We have the church bus or the church group that they come around the neighborhood and they gather up all the kids, and because the mom and dad don't want to be bothered, they let their kids go off thinking that they're safe in the church, and they've done no background, no research, asked no questions, talked to nobody that's been to that church, and your kids are being mishandled in the house of God. We want to talk about little boys being gay. Most of them get turned out in the church. That little boy who's always going to help the pastor with his Bible or playing the drums and going out of town and going to crusade. They're turning those little boys out right there. They're having sex with your little boys and your little girls. And you're wondering why your kid is acting out, why your kid all of a sudden is gaining weight or losing weight, or all of a sudden not performing well in school, or they whining because they don't want to go around certain people. We don't pay attention to our kids. There are predators in the church. You have guys who they pimped women outside the church. They had many girlfriends. They got money from the girlfriends. That was their lifestyle. Well, what they do is they take that charisma and they take it in the church. They're seeking money, fame, and power. And they're not seeking your soul salvation. And most of us, we go into the church seeking God, and we're desperate, and we're holding on to everything that the man or woman of God says until you start growing up and the Holy Ghost starts revealing to you that, no, this is not right. Most of us don't even open our Bibles and read them ourselves, because all of this is in the Bible. It tells you about the silly women running to and fro. It tells you about the false pastors and bishops and preachers that creep in and out of women's houses during the day. This goes on all the time, but we don't want to talk about it. When the pastor is found, guilty, we crucify the women. But see, just like with David Wilson, the thing that bothered me about it is everybody
let's go introduce us to how you met David, Bishop David Wilson.
Here's the thing about David Wilson. When I moved to Arkansas, I've always through the years had dealing with church in and out, but I never would really settle in the church because, as I said, I didn't feel worthy. I felt like those were the good women and I was this tainted woman because first of all, you were a prostitute. Second of all, you were sexually abused as a child. You're not clean, unclean. So no matter how I dressed it up, no matter the wigs, the makeup, the eyelashes, the clothes, I felt dirty. And I didn't feel as good as them. So I'd go in and out, and I've had God do some miraculous things in my life. Well, when I moved to Arkansas, my grandmother said, baby, down here, we do two things. We speak and we go to church. So I'm like, okay, because I moved here from Baltimore, Maryland. You didn't speak, and I wasn't thinking about nobody's church. So I started going to this little Baptist church, and I really liked it. And the people there really embraced me. They made me feel a part of it. I ended up being a Sunday school teacher. And tell you how green I was, the first Sunday school lesson that I taught, I equated God to shooting pool, and how you had to put the right English on the pool stick. So if you're not praying the right prayer, that ball is not going to go where you want it to go. But that was all I knew to equate it with. And I started teaching Sunday school. It's raining here. I'm sorry. I looked out the window. But in the midst of going there, I started reading the Bible for myself. And I was seeing all of these miracles. And I'm like, why are we not laying hands on the sick? Why is this not happening? Why don't we do this? Why don't we talk about this? Well, I had a girlfriend. She was filled with the Holy Ghost, fire baptized. She said, come visit Bible Way Ministries with me. I went over there. Oh my God. Praise and worship and dancing and clapping and speaking in tongues. And I just sat there mesmerized. Who are these people? Where did they come from? And what is this? I've never experienced anything like this in my life. They were laying on hands and folks were dancing and shouting. And I'm like, okay. So I would go to my church, ease out a little bit early, and then go to that church. So after about 2 months of this, I went to my pastor and I said, Pastor, I know that I really love you guys, but I want to move my membership. He says, why do you want to move your membership? I said, because over at that church, they're doing all the things that we don't do. It's power over there. And I want to learn about those things. I want to learn about speaking in tongues. I want to learn about laying hands on. I want to learn about casting out demons. We don't do any of that here. And these are the things that I believe that if it's in the Bible, we should do it.
Yeah.
So he looked at me and he says, well, I can't tell you not to go, but are you sure you want to go sit up under that man? I didn't get it because I didn't know him.
I see.
So I said, yes, sir. I want to go. I just feel that it's something deeper and I want to learn it. So that's how I ended up joining the ministry. Well, a lady attached herself to me and we got to knowing each other, and she ended up coming to my house all the time, and she would tell me little things. And in the midst of all of that, he started, I didn't have a car. So he would say, why you didn't come to church? I said, oh, I didn't have transportation. So he started picking me up along with other people and bringing me back home after church whenever this lady wasn't available. Well, those bringing me back home after churches ended up me being the last one he would bring home. And he set himself up like my friend. Like, I wasn't comfortable with women. I was comfortable with men. All of my buddies were men. I didn't like women because women always treated me mean and, suspiciously. But he drew close to me like he was a friend, not like a preacher. And he would call me, well, can you come into the church and do this? Or do you know how to do that? Sure, I'll do it. and ride with me here or ride with me there. Sure, I'll go, not thinking anything. In the midst of him pulling me closer and closer, as this friend, we're talking, well, what's going on with your mom? And well, what happened? And your girlfriend was telling me that you had been through. So I'm telling him about the experiences and this and that. And he said, oh no, you can't feel that way. And you're beautiful and you're worthy. You're pulling me closer. Well, the girlfriend, she was supposed to be a prophetess. She starts telling me, God is saying that you're supposed to be with him. What you mean I'm supposed to be with him? See, he's had a few falls in the past where he's been caught messing with women, but that's because the wife that he's married to is not really supposed to be his wife. You're the one that's supposed to be his wife. Now,
that's what the prophetess was telling.
It's telling me. Now,
David, Bishop David, he was married then.
Yes, and he was acting innocent, just like he's my friend. Like none of this is going on.
So where was the wife when he was dropping you off at night?
Okay, so the wife would you got to understand, it's a whole background of this. The wife wouldn't say anything. I did not know that this was a pattern with him, and that there had been many women, and that they had even stood up in church and confessed and exposed him, but that it would be swept under the carpet, and that the women would be blackballed, and the wife had one testimony. She would stand up and she would say, all I ever wanted to do was be married. I've been married twice, and this man here, I don't care what he does, I'll never leave him, because all I've ever wanted to do was to be a wife. So she didn't care what happened as long as she was upheld as victim, and she stayed married to him. Because you got to understand, when you're the victim, when you're the poor wife, it's a game. When you're the poor wife, you're going to get gifts, you're going to get sympathy, you're going to be pitied. So it's a thing here where everybody looks at him as he's just the bad boy and she's just the poor, neglected wife who's so strong and so in the Lord. See, but people do what they get a payoff from. And sometimes even with the wives they know what's going on. They know that the man is cheating, the pastor is cheating, the bishop's cheating. They know about the string of women and the string of men. But the church mentality is, this is the wife, we got to hold her up. So we're going to get her hair fixed. We're going to buy her clothes to make her feel good about herself. We're going to make sure she always smells good. We're going to go over and we're going to clean her house. We're going to make sure that she's taken care of to try to make. So you're getting a payoff from playing victim. When that tape came out, you can no longer play victim. But we'll get to that. I didn't know that. I didn't do my research, and nobody told me. Even the girl who initially took me to the church didn't tell me all of this was going on. So the other girl, the other lady, she's telling me, yeah, God says that you're supposed to be with him and this and that, and that you see how you're real close with him. You see how he takes you everywhere. You can talk to him when nobody else can talk to him. His part of the game was, I can talk to you when I can't talk to anybody else. You just seem to understand me. I can't be real with other people, but I could just be real with you because you got street smarts and you have spiritual smarts. You catch on quick. You just know things. You got to understand something. Men in the church, pastors and bishops, you have gifts in you that you don't even know you have, especially if you come from an abused background. You have giftings and talents that you don't know you have, but they see it. They purposely spy out for people who have been abused, misused, low self-esteem, but who are smart, streetwise, who are smart book-wise, and who have giftings. And these are the people that they draw close around them. If you notice in your interviews, I've been going back watching your interviews, people who have been abused by pastors and bishops, all of those people, each one of those people had some kind of special gift. And they didn't even realize that they had these gifts because their self-esteem was so low, but they got pulled in and manipulated. Well, I didn't know that I was full of gifts. I didn't know that everything that I touched grew. All I knew is that he would say, I want you to do this. I don't know how to do that. How do you do it? You figure it out, and it would grow. Start a drug and alcohol ministry. It grow. Start a youth ministry. It go. Start an outreach ministry. It grow. So you're having me put my hands in all of these pots, and it grows. But then when it grows, you take it from me. Now we're going to give this to them. You have to be careful because this is what they do too. They draw you close, but they set you at, the word I'm looking for is enmity with leadership. They actually go behind your back and they talk against you and listen to what other people have to say about you, because they have to keep a constant wall up between you and the other leaders in the church, because it keeps them off kilter, because they're wondering, what is it about this lady that he's pulling her in close and that he has her doing this and that? But I've been here 10 years or 20 years. So the spirit of jealousy comes in, the spirit of strife comes in, and he sits back in his office and he stokes the fire. But then he tells you to yourself, don't worry about them. They just jealous, because you need to be thanking God that you're in the place you're in. They want to be to me what you are to me. His wife told me, says, we had words only one time, and he had some family that needed to be taken care of. It was a big mess. And it was a big secret. And I said, I'll help you do this. And I was using the church vehicle to go back and forth to take care of this business, because if this business was not taken care of, somebody was going to go to jail. So it had to be done. It had to be done in a hurry. So the wife called me one morning and says, do you have the church vehicle? Yes, ma'am. Why? My answer to her was, didn't you just get up out the bed with your husband? Why didn't you ask him? I called back and I said, you know what? I'm sorry. I said, but it's just that the way that you guys treat me at that church, when you asked me that, it didn't sit right. She said, no, I'm sorry. She said, I'm jealous. I said, what are you jealous of? You're married to him. You sing, you preach, you're pretty. You got all the accolades. She said, because you're not from the church. You wasn't even a Christian. And everything you touch grows. And you're the only one who could talk to my husband. I wish I could communicate with him like you do. And that was the thing that drew me in there, because like I said, he was like my homeboy, my buddy, my friend. I wasn't afraid of him. I wasn't intimidated by him. He did not try to come at me sexually. He came at me like, I got your back. You got a protector now. I'm your big brother. When my mom died and I couldn't even phantom on how to get that together, he came in the house, took the box with all the paperwork, went through it, said this, come on, let's go. Went to the funeral home, set up everything for me. So I'm looking at this man like my friend. Now I got the girl constantly telling me, God is saying this is your husband. God is saying you need to So one day I tells him, I said, well, this is what's being said. And he says, yeah, that's true. And I'm still kind of freaked out because we are all raised that pastors are off limit, that, that's like next to God. And to actually have sex with a pastor, of course, God is going to strike me dead right there on the spot. In the middle of the act, he's going to strike me dead, because no way God would let you get involved with a pastor. You don't do that. Well, truthfully, I made the first move, not knowing that things were being set up for me to make the first move. Because if you make the first move, then it's your fault.
I see. Yeah.
So
I get it.
They set things up in a way. You had a man on your show talking about the witchcraft and how they had to manipulate you to make you think that you're the aggressor. Well, I didn't know that he had been corresponding, that him and this lady were talking. So I didn't know that everything, even the friendship and everything, was being set up to make me think that everything was so preconceived and so planned and so strategic, even to the point that I'll never forget the first time that we were together. I literally got sick because I just knew that God was going to kill me. You're too nervous. You're too this. And he just, like I say, started dropping me off last and then coming into the house, staying a few minutes and this and that. Then it was, will you go out of town with me? Next thing I know, we're in a full-blown sexual working relationship. He spent more time with me than he did at home. If we would church together, work together, play together. Now, in the midst of all of that, other women are coming in and out the picture. And other women are leaving in and out the picture. How can you sit there? Imagine you got a wife here. I'm the side chick. When I saw that on the screen, I was like, oh my God, side chick. And I said, well, yep, that's what it was. But to see it in writing, it was like, oh, okay. You're sitting there and the other side chick calls the wife and confesses, I need my rent paid. Your husband promised he was going to come pay my rent.
Wow.
And he didn't come pay it. The wife tells her, well, I tell you what, I'll come pay your rent, but you're going to tell me everything. The other side chick confesses everything. I get the phone call at 7:00 in the morning. I need you to do something for me. What you need me to do? I need you to go over to this girl's house. Bring her to your house so nobody will know where she is. Don't let her come to this church, because they have called a board meeting and they're going to try to take my church from me. Why? Because she told my wife everything. The only way I could get this girl to come to my house was to tell her that he would come over there and talk to her after this meeting. And I did it. Come on over. Why did you do that? Why would you do that? I knew about all of them. None of them knew about me. I knew about each and every last one of them I knew about. And I watched them come and go. And that's how I learned that they pull women to them who have low self-esteem and who are gifted, because they were either had money, power, influence, musicians, could do something that he needed done. And I would see him bring them in. You would see their attitude change. and the way they walk changed, the way they talk changed. Oh, okay, she's one of them now. And then you would see it when it fall apart and they would leave.
So this whole thing started when for you and
this
Bishop,
started for me in 1994.
1994. Okay.
Started in 1994, the year before my mom died. My mom died. My mom died in 95, and this started in 94.
So you got to a place where, in spite of the sinful life that he was living as a bishop, as a married man, and you being a girlfriend, you allowed him to use you because he was using you, but then you allowed him.
you know what?
To help with some of his mess. You could see his life was actually a mess.
Yes.
So he used you, a willing person, to
a willing participant. Now, here's the thing about it. Solomon, here's the thing about it. You know how I told you that I'm always honest? I would tell him, and it would make him so mad. You're wrong for this, this, and this.
Yeah.
Why are you playing with her mind? You think I don't see you? They acting like they don't see you, but I see you. Let me tell you what's so bad about it. I didn't know then about visions or dreams or prophecy or anything like that. But God would show me these things. And I would call him. I would say, oh, I had the worst dream. I dreamed that I was trying to get in your church, but the church was up on a steel mountain and I could not climb up. I couldn't get through the doors. I couldn't get in there, but I could actually see in the church and everything was torn apart. All the people were gone and it was tumbleweeds going up and down the hallway. I said, you better be careful because your ministry getting ready to be destroyed. I'm just talking. I'm not even knowing that I'm giving this man an actual warning from God.
Right.
And there were several like that. And he would tell me, see, this is why I went to somebody else, because with you, you get too spiritual and you get too deep. And I don't want you to be like that with me. I just want you to be regular with me like you used to be. But now every time you're with me, you're talking God. You're talking about what you see. You're talking about what you're feeling. And I don't want to hear none of that. And he would tell me, you're supposed to be my wife. You have to be with me. Just be normal with me. He didn't, as I started to grow, he grew away because he did not want me to talk. He didn't want me to, he didn't want me to have any type of a platform. Everything that I was doing, I was supposed to only do on his behalf. And for so long, I thought that the things that I was doing was him, and it was actually me. I didn't realize it. That's how messed up my brain was. But here's what people have to know. When you are a victim of sexual abuse, the age that you are sexually abused, you grow up physically, mentally, but emotionally, you're still at that same age.
I get you. Yeah.
That's sexual abuse. And here's the thing with sexual abuse too. It's a pattern. When you're being sexually abused by a man and you're a kid, he draws you in close. He tells you you're special. He tells you he loves you. He does all of these things. And you start as a little kid buying into, well, this must not be bad because he wouldn't pull me close like this. But when you're around other adults, that person who's abusing you will push you away. It's not always the ones. We're looking for people to be sneaky with our kids. Watch that person who don't never want to be bothered with your child. Who, if your child and you're in the crowd, and you know how little kids go up to people and talk, and they're pushing their child away, or they always got something to say wrong or want to reprimand that child. That's what abusers do.
Yeah.
They put you down in public, love you in private. Now, you take that being done to you so long, when you get with a man that's spiritually abusing you, he puts you down in public, but he builds you up privately. Tells you what you are, who you are, what you do for him, how he couldn't do nothing without you, how he needs you to do this. And you're just constantly working, trying to make sure this man is satisfied and pleased. And nothing he tells you means anything, because he has a hold to your mind.
Right.
And people don't realize that this is something. It's like being a dope head. Even if you go away from that person and get involved with somebody else, if things get bad, you run back to them, because it's a familiar. We throw around words like familiar spirit. It's a familiar spirit. It's a soul tie. You're actually connected with that person. So whenever things get rough, when my life must be going wrong because I left him, I'm not dealing with him. And here's the thing you have to watch too. When you're with somebody that's in the clergy, you have to pay attention to your life. I used to watch these, I still do. I love them. I love Yoruba movies. But they have something that they say about people being able to use your destiny. Or, whenever you're connected with someone that you're not supposed to be with, your life will start falling apart. You will get into financial problems. You would get into emotional problems. You would get into physical health problems. But the more your life turns for the bad, the more their life turns for the good. Everything that is supposed to be poured into you is being poured into them. When you leave that person and leave them alone, your life comes back in line. But we don't have enough sense to pay attention to the people we attach ourselves with. These people actually realize that you better keep this person close to you. This is a glorious person. They make things work for you. And that's why they keep you around. Because when you're around, they're sucking off your glory and your destiny. I didn't think it was true till I sat back and analyzed it. I said, these Yoruba movies kind of up on it when it comes to that. They know what they're talking about. Because once I got him totally out of my life did a whole 180. A total 180.
But before you got him totally out of your life, it was a span of 24 years.
Oh man, my kids
on and off. You go away and then you come back.
Go away, come back. My kids called him daddy. We started business together, everything. But every time things would get rough, I would go back because it was familiar to me. Because he was always there. Now, mind you, here's the bad thing about it, Solomon. I always took care of myself. It's not like he was putting me in a car or putting me in a house or buying me expensive things or anything. He would come through if I needed him in a pinch, but I took care of myself. I was just caught up in that thing. And I thought that this was my husband. I really believed it.
So you from a place where for you, it is impossible for him to be your husband. That was the beginning, even before you started.
Dude, this is my husband now.
He's married, and then there was a prophetess in the church who was telling you, well, he was supposed to be his wife.
Not just
from
her.
A place where you never believed it.
Not just her.
Not just her.
Through the years, traveling with him, going to places with him, it was always some prophet or some bishop that would ease up to me. You're doing a good job. You're keeping him from sinning. God put you in this place. He's going to open it up so y'all can be together. And I believed it.
And they know you are not his wife. They know
Yes.
you were his girlfriend.
Yes. And they're encouraging it. See,
Yes.
you have to watch these people, these wolves, they run in a pack. They run in a pack. So they know what you're doing. He's already told them when you get there, I'm bringing my side chick.
I get you.
She's this and
So
she's.
it's like a culture amongst them.
It's a
accepting
culture amongst them. Yes. Yes. They already know.
pastors,
they-
bishops.
The people who are in that circle, when you travel, when you show up to the revival out of town with the entourage, they already know that you're the woman. Because the wife didn't travel. The woman traveled to take care of the needs after the service. Because when you go up on this spiritual high and you're prophesying and you're giving out, it builds you up sexually. So you have to have somebody there to help you come down off that cloud. Yes, this is the bull crap that, oh, Solomon, when I tell you, it is a web of deceit. And when you don't know anything spiritually, it will have you messed up because you'll believe it. You'll believe it. By the time they finished with me, I didn't believe in God. I didn't believe in the Holy Spirit. I was like, this is all a sham and a game just to entrap people. And I guess that's why now I speak out so boldly about it. And when I see sexual abuse, spiritual abuse, oh no, this is what's going on and that's what they're doing. And you need to get away from there because they prey on the poor. They prey on the weak. They prey on the abused, but you have to have giftings and talents. It's not about your looks.
Yeah.
Because when I was dealing with him, I was almost 300 pounds. I'm half of me now. That was one of the things that made him mad because I started losing weight. I started getting myself together. I started working on me. I started getting some self-esteem. No, you can't do that. That's a bad thing. I was so sick in my life at one time that my girls thought I was going to die. My son-in-law put an insurance policy out on me. I was on 27 different medications. I went through 4 different surgeries. Once I got everything taken care of, I said, well, you know what? I'm going to have weight loss surgery. And my daughter said, okay, if that's what you want to do, I'll surprise you all the way. And I had it done. And I didn't do it in my mind, it wasn't to get skinny. It was to get healthy. And so I lost half of me. I'm like 157 now. And I was at 305 then, 305 pounds. Big, fat, unhealthy, disgusted, depressed, low self-esteem. But then something switched. Switched. I left him and I got with this man that I was with for 8 years. And we talk off and on. And this man died. He got cancer and he died. At that time, I had started preaching and everything. And this guy was saying, we're going to get married. We're going to get married. Come to find out he had been married since he was 15 years old. And he was in his 50s then, but they had only been together 1 year and had never got divorced. But I stayed with him. I stopped preaching. I stopped teaching and everything. And everybody said, why? Why'd you stop? I said, because you know what? I said, I can't prove this, but this is how I feel about it. When people who are not living the type of life they're supposed to live, preach over you, lay hands on you and talk to you, they're imparting spirits in you.
That's correct.
And I don't want to be putting anything in nobody that's out of me. And right now, the situation I'm in, I'm not in the position or have the courage to leave it. So I will leave that until I get me right with God.
That's honesty. That's honesty.
Yeah, I said, and I've seen enough abuse. Now, it was years later that I learned that that was a true thing, you know, but I said, I can't do it anymore. I don't want to be fake. And the preachers would tell me, no, you know, God understands. No, I don't want to preach over people. And I know that I'm living with this man, not married to him. But we got this financial understanding. We got this understanding, and I'm not willing to walk away from this. Well, me and this guy stayed together until he came down with cancer, went on hospice. I nursed him, and he died July the 9th, 2015. Right after we buried him, I got sick, and he started creeping back around. So when he started creeping back around, my attitude was different. My attitude was totally different. I'd had back surgery, the first back surgery, and he comes to my house and he wants to try to have sex, this and that. No, boo, what's wrong with you? So I started telling him, you know what, you believe your own hype, you're weak, I found out, you know, you're just a weakling, you're not this, you're not that. Well, he told me something. He said, I just want you to know that I lied to you all these years. I never had intentions on leaving my wife for you. Why would I leave my wife for somebody like you? Oh, Solomon, that hurt Teresa Graham to her heart. My gangster came out. My gangster from my dope dealing prostitution days came out. My daughter called my other daughter and my best friend. Y'all got to come do something because she's getting ready to do something she don't have no bit. Solomon, I had the gun and I was headed to his house. Second time I've had an altercation with a gun with him. Because at one time it got so bad at the church, I took a gun into the church. I'm going to take all us out of our misery. You don't play with people when you don't know where they've come from.
Right.
And they're trying to find God and you're playing with their minds.
So that was like a trigger.
Yeah, and it was a trigger for me. And it took all of them. They were over there crying, begging. I know you're hurt. I know this. I know what you've been. I wasn't messing with him. I was minding my own business. I didn't call him here. Why did he come? Why is it like he wants to just try to kill me? So I didn't go that night. They are like, no, if you go, you're going to go to jail. I'm willing to catch that case. I'm willing to, but I'm sick of him. So he came one more time and I told him, I said, this is how I got rid of him. I said, if you come over here one more time, I'm going to go to the police and I'm going to file a lawsuit against you. I said, because I did some studying, and for a pastor to sleep with a church member, you have breached what is called fiduciary. You breached a fiduciary law. Right. You don't have the right. They cannot consent. And the point that you try to sleep with people and everybody you sleep with are people who have had traumatic backgrounds, you're really breaching it. I'm going to take you to court. And once that lawsuit is filed, everybody's going to come out the woodwork and I'm going to win. And that's what stopped him from coming around me. Here it was 2 years, 3 years later, this young lady posted that video. When she posted the video, here's what bothered me. It became this big thing.
Just to give people a background, this young lady posted a video of them having oral sex.
Because he was telling her the same lies.
And she was like maybe half his age or something.
Yeah, from what I understand, this young lady was in her 20s. Now, I'm 61, so at that time, this was a couple of years ago, so he had to be 60 then, because he's a couple of years older than me.
Mm.
Mhm.
Mm.
He has kids older than her.
He has kids older than her.
Yeah, he has sons, 3 sons. And see, here's the thing: while they all jumped online talking about, oh, this is a smear, this is that, that's not my husband, they all knew about it. They all knew about all the other women. They all knew about the tapes. They all were aware and knew everything. It's just this is the first time that it had really been exploded. It had went viral. But this has happened in our town. He is I am going to write a book. in our town, you have to understand, in our town, his church was the mega church. It was the first so-called mega church. But I had the opportunity to literally sit there and watch a man destroy his own church. But here's something else you got to understand. Remember how I said you remember how I said that you should research churches before you join them? Right. If I had done my proper research, you need to also know where your pastor comes from. What's his lineage? What church did he come up under? What was the pastor like that he came up under? Exactly. Because from what I found out later is that the pastor that birthed him into ministry was the same way as him. But he not only slept with men, he slept with women too. And he was really like a coach because he would tell them who to marry. Now, let's get real deep. And everything I I could put a receipt on it and give you the name, address, and telephone number to the person. This is why, let me tell you why the wife don't get no respect from me. Because remember the young lady that I told you I had to keep from the church? Yes. Well, come to find out, I find out later on. Now, this was a young girl. She was in her 20s. Come to find out that the wife that he's married to now, he was supposed to be marrying this girl's mother. Oh. So he was first with the young lady's mother. And the mother went out of town. You're making it complicated now. Yeah. When the mother went out of town, that pastor that he came up under, they told him, no, you're going to marry this person. And they quickly married them before the lady got back in town. When she came back from her week trip, they were married. The young lady was going with his son when he started messing with her. Now, let me make it even deeper. During the time we were really deep and I had broke up with him, he went to my oldest daughter's house and tried to sleep with her. What? I told my, yes. She called me, Mama, David came over here and he did so and so and so. And I said, son, I almost cussed.
So your gangster came out again. Your gangster came out again.
Yes. And she said, no, don't say nothing. Now, here's what the problem was. We were both so stupid that we justified it, saying that, oh, he was so hurt because I broke up with him and he was just trying to she said, he didn't mean nothing by it. Daddy would never do nothing like that to me. And I just said, Daddy, you need to stop. I know Mama hurt you, but she gonna come back to you. What? What is that? What is that, Solomon? Wow. What is that? Who does that? We did that. We justified it. How can you justify the person that you're sleeping with trying to sleep with your daughter? And you justify it and you make excuses for it. And you both sit there and say, I'm ready to go cut his thing off, his penis off. And she's like, no, Mama, the only reason, Mama, you know how David is. He just upset because you broke up with him. You know how he is about you. And he didn't mean none of that. He was just hurt. What? Is that witchcraft or what?
That's
witchcraft and manipulation to its highest.
Yeah. That's a very high, intense and very strong form of witchcraft that came out of a life of deception. You know, deception creates a spirit.
Yes. Now, let me tell you how bad it is. You know it's bad when you actually have married women in the church stand up and confess that they've been sleeping with you. They get blackballed and put out the church, but the husbands still stay. This is the type of stuff that I witnessed. Wait a minute. How are you still here and your wife is not? Like I said, I think, like I told you when we talked earlier, I'm one, I'm going to be vocal. I'm going to tell my story because out of all the women, they have either moved out, left, they're quieted down, or they pretend like it never happened. And I just think for some reason God shielded me through all of that because he said, you're going to be the one who lives to tell the story. And I'm going to give you some tools to help other people not fall into this. I admit my wrong. I was so wrong. And this is why I tell people, heal your issues. Heal what's in you. Don't look for no man of God to lay hands on you. Don't look for some prophetess to prophesy it out of you. You can't do that. You have to go to God for yourself. My daughter said, Mama, all this cussing and anger and hate you got in you, you better deal with God and deal with your issues. And I'm laying in my bed, sick, back surgery, can't move, can't even walk. And I sat there, and me and God had why'd you let this happen? Why'd you let that happen? Why'd you do this? Why'd you do that? You telling me to be this way, but this is the cards that you played. But through that, God started talking to me and ministering to me, and things just began to change. I got my voice back. I found my power back. He started showing me the systematic manipulation. And you're like the first person that I've really shared this with on the open platform because everybody wanted to come at it from a nasty point of view. And it's like, no, this is deeper than nasty because these people literally, they are destroying lives. They know they're destroying lives, but they're so on this power kick and this clout kick that they don't care. They literally don't care. Remember the dream about the church being desolate? How come there's no longer a church?
Right.
Everything destroyed. But you destroyed it yourself because God sent you warning after warning after warning and you didn't heed it. Thank God he didn't do it to me.
Right.
Because I had sense enough to walk my happy self out of it. But you got to deal with your issues. We have to stop looking at God as a microwave God that's sitting up there just waiting to pour. Look, Solomon, when you're a baby in Christ, with the children of Israel, the 40 years, God provided them their clothes, their shoes, the food. But when they crossed to go to Jordan, they had to go out and they had to take the land. Yeah. They had to move for themselves, but God had their back. We don't want to move for ourselves. We want God to fix it. You messed up your finances, so you're going to have some discipline to fix it. Once you apply the discipline, God will open up the doors. I ate myself to 309 pounds. Once I applied the discipline with the help of surgery, because surgery don't just get it. You got to change your whole total lifestyle. I exercise. I eat healthy. I take vitamins. I live a totally different lifestyle than I used to. Food-wise, emotional-wise. You have to do the hard work. I had to face and deal with the abuse and the sexual abuse and the I had to take responsibility and say, but you walked in there openly. If you had to search for yourself, you would have saw something different. The word, it was right there in the word, but you didn't look for yourself. You were so busy trying to fit in and be like that you allowed yourself to be abused. Well, from this point, I have power not to allow myself to be abused. People want to be stupid. They want to be deceived because most of us, we do what the pastors say or the prophets say, because if it goes wrong, it's their fault and not ours. Well, they told me to do it. When we go before God, he's going to judge us on us, not the prophet, not the bishop.
That's correct. I love it because some people would know getting to the place where you are now is difficult for some people, broken people, because for you are taking responsibility totally for your role.
You have to.
Yes. You were saying, look, I did this. God is going to judge me, not the prophet.
Yeah.
Even though the prophet deceived me, God is going to judge me, not the prophet. Even though the prophet manipulated me, God is going to judge me. What did you do when you were deceived? I love that because sometimes there is this blame thing, or sometimes there's this self-pity thing. I'm helpless. That's why it happened and all that, without really growing enough to say, look, I have to take responsibility too. It takes two to tango, isn't it?
Look, those girlfriends that, oh, God says this is your husband. And they were talking to a lot of different women, telling them that God said this is your husband, this and that. And one day I'm sitting there and I look at all of them. I said, you know what? Stop lying on the Holy Ghost. What do you mean? God's not going to tell you somebody else's husband is yours. Somebody that's already married and got that covenant and that soul tie, he's not going to tell them that's your husband. Stop lying on the Holy Ghost. They thought I was wrong. They thought I was crazy. We're lying on the Holy Ghost. And then when we agree with that, we said, why would God tell you that I don't care? Just like him talking to me about his wife. Don't tell me about your wife. Because the same dirty things you say about her, you will say those same dirty things about me. That's not making me feel like I'm special because you tell me how dirty your wife is. Now I can tell a man, oh, when he's like, oh, you know, wait a minute. Whatever problems you have in your marriage, you're not going to find it between the answer between my legs. Go home and that stuff that you're trying to whisper in my ear, go do that to your wife. You might find out you get a good response. Go plan a date night. Nothing that you're telling me can resolve the issue you're having in your marriage. I got an aversion to married men and in situation men. Stay away. I'm live abstinent now. Not that I don't want to ever get married or anything like that. It's just that I'm at a place now where I'm not willing to disturb my peace and my relationship with God over sex. I know what sex is. I know what an orgasm is. It's too important to me. I'm not willing to turn back all my hard work over some sweet words because I had to work hard to get here. It was hard facing those truths. It was hard saying, wait a minute, this was your fault. It was hard.
Yeah. Now we just have about 6-7 minutes left. I want you to help people who are watching from both sides of the coin, from the side of the bishop or prophet or pastor or apostle, and from the side of a broken person, a victim, a congregant. You know, the same thing. You giving us an American context, but you see it happens here in Africa and across African churches too. Maybe in a sort of like you are African American, so it's all Africa. You know, maybe just in a different context or slightly in a different way, maybe due to cultural issues or whatever. But I want you to advise us. What should we take note and what shouldn't we tolerate? What should we watch? You've mentioned some of it in the course of this conversation, where you want to trust this man of God, you want to trust this church, you need to do your due diligence.
Yes. My party short would be this. Number one, when you're in lack, it's an African saying in African churches, God locate me. And when you're sitting there and you're saying, God locate me, and the man of God does not locate you, you feel invisible. You have to know that the God that really blesses and answers prayers is not found in that building. Is found through your faith. Is found in the word of God.
That's correct.
Many of us are spending time and wasting time going to churches that don't teach sound doctrine. We're going, even in the United States, the Bible says, itching ears. We go to where we hear what makes us feel better, what tickles us emotionally. You know you're in a true house of God when the word makes you feel convicted. And when I say make you feel convicted, is I was sleeping with a guy at one time, and I went to this church, and the pastor preached a sermon about the woman in red. I had money in all my coats in the pockets where he would give me money and pay the bills. When he came to my house, I was so convicted. I told him, I can't see you anymore. Why? Because the man of God preached the word. The word, condemnation from the devil makes you guilty. Conviction by the word makes you change.
Freedom. Yeah.
It gives you freedom. Stop looking for answers to come out the mouth of a man or a woman. Go to God directly yourself. Talk to God. It's not, oh great Father, how art thou in the... Look, God, I know you know what I'm feeling. I need your help right now. Talk to him and get that conversation and faith and relationship going. And slowly but surely, you will see your situation change. Nobody's going to come in and rescue you. Got everything that we need to change our situation is in us. Everything I needed to turn my life around was right in me. I'll never forget when I sat on the side of the bed and God said to me, remember who you are. And I said, what are you talking about? Remember who you are. And he took me through my spiritual walk and showed me everything that I gave everybody else credit for and that I did for everybody else. They didn't do that, you did. So if you could do all of that and make it happen for them, the gift is in your hand. Remember who you are. And so many of us, we see ourselves through our situation. What they said about me, what they think about me. I call it living in the diaspora of the shun. You know, we just shunned from everything. We've been blackballed. Nobody likes us. Everybody. Guess what? We keep ourselves there because once you're out the picture, the next news story comes along. It's all about you, your mindset, and your relationship with God. Stop looking for the man of God or the woman of God to miraculously give you a word to change your life. It does not happen that way. It's hard work, and it's digging in there, dealing with that, the stuff you don't even want to deal with. And it's about learning to be disciplined in your lifestyle. Step by step. You have to develop a prayer life. You have to develop a reading life. I tell people, even if you just read one verse a day and
That's
think
correct.
about that verse, just think about it throughout the day. But you can say, I read this one verse. You have to develop a prayer life. You have to develop a reading life, because as you pray and as you read, those so-called revelations that they getting, that word will start opening up to you, and you'll be like, oh, I never saw that before. And it's so exciting. So you have to do that. Now, for the men on the other side, for the preachers,
Yeah.
this is what I had to say. Every bishop, elder, pastor, prophet,
Deacon.
that I have personally seen set out to use and abuse people, it works for a short while.
Mm.
But God will get tired of you mishandling his people. You know that verse that says, better you pull a millstone around your neck than offend one of these little ones of mine. When
That's
you
correct.
openly, purposely lead people into sin, into depravity, when you openly, purposely depart your evil spirits in their life, the Bible say it's a special kind of hell for you. And you know what? I've seen so many men and women of God drop dead, literally drop dead around me, who were abusing people. They didn't die peacefully in their sleep. They died tragically, embarrassingly, in hotels, in motels, drugged up. Yeah, there's been a few of them. We got one pastor sitting up right now doing 100+ years because the girls came out. He had been molesting those little girls, and they came out as teenagers. Oh, everybody went wild here. They threatened and everything. They took that man to court. That man was found guilty. He got almost 100 years. Nobody said nothing after that. Just because people are silent with your sin, and just because people back you up, it doesn't make it okay. You're believing your own hype, but God has something for you. If God did not call you into that ministry, if God didn't call you to treat his word, you're bringing hate and damnation on yourself, playing with God's people. And I don't know if you've ever seen anybody die who lived a bad life.
Terrible.
I've seen people die who have lived a good life, and it was a smooth transition. But I've seen people die who led a bad life, and they suffered. They suffered before they left. Remember the guy that I was telling you about that I was with for those 8 years?
Yeah.
He was a mean man. And I was the only woman he was with that he didn't abuse or hurt. But it was only because I put my bluff in there. I was the only woman that he never beat up, that he never broke their leg or anything like that. When he died, Solomon, he kept trying to get out the bed. He kept trying to run. He was looking at something over in the corner. I literally saw him tormented. I had been up with him for almost 30 hours, and the nurse had came out to the house, and we sat up with him and finally got him calmed down. And 5:30 in the morning, I said, okay, he's asleep. I went to lay across the bed. I slept exactly 15 minutes. I woke up to go use the bathroom, and he was out the bed on the floor dead. I tormented myself for a long time because I said I went to sleep for 15 minutes. And my son-in-law said, stop doing that. You weren't meant to see him die. God didn't want you to see that. But I saw how somebody can die that have treated people badly all their life. They are tormented. They suffer. This TB Joshua guy, he suffered before he died. They'll never tell you. They'll never tell you how he suffered.
No, they're never gonna tell us.
But people who are in God,
Mm.
that love God, that got the heart of God, they pass peacefully. Even if it's a heart attack, it's quick, it's instant. They don't suffer. They sleep away or something. It's quick. We got to watch how we treat people. But see, men of God and women of God don't believe that. Remember when I said that I thought God would strike me dead for sleeping with a pastor?
Yeah.
It's just like stealing. The first time you steal, you're scared to death, you're shaking, you can't believe you got away with it. And each time you do it, you get a little more nerves, a little more nerves. The next thing you know, it's comfortable for you. Next thing you know, you're doing it without even thinking.
Right.
You got a pocket full of money and don't have to steal, and you're stealing. Same thing with these pastors. First time they get a little scared. But all they're doing is taking from what they learned in the world and bringing it in the church.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Stop supporting and making excuses for these men of God who are not living right.
Right.
Stop supporting them. Why would you support somebody who is out there openly having sex with other women and you're making excuses for him? Yeah, it's a side chick, but those side chicks come from somewhere. Those side chicks have a story. And most of the time, it is a side chick that has been molested, raped, abused in some form of way. When you use, what needs to happen is people really do need to start prosecuting these guys.
Right.
I'm listening to the guy, the trial of the person over there in South Africa that was sleeping with all the girls.
Show.
I've been kind of following that and looking at that. I'm like all things Africa. That's just my passion. And I'm looking at this guy, and I'm looking at them questioning the little girl, and they asked the little girl, when you came back to him, you had left, but they called you and asked you to come back. Why did you come back? You could have been. No. When you allow somebody to get in your head like that, you literally think that God is not going to bless me unless I'm with this person. You literally believe that your life, you don't see that my life is turned upside down because I'm in this sin. You think your life is turned upside down because you left that sin. They totally pervert the message of God. Stop perverting the message of God. Be a man of God. But then we have to start reading our Bibles for ourselves and believe what we read. I saw a post today where they were talking about, oh, this shouldn't be talked about in church. That shouldn't be talked about in church. I said, in the Bible is incest, rape, murder, adultery, fornication, witchcraft, backbiting. All of this stuff is in the Bible. So you're saying only preach the word of God. This is the word of God. So you just want me to preach the in-between stuff, the blessings.
Get me excited.
We have to get to a point where we teach people how to live this life.
Application.
Yes. Ain't no more name it and claim it. There's no such thing as name it and claim it. I claim that car in the name of Jesus. You're not prophesying to me if all you telling me is I'm gonna get a husband, a job. Yeah, I'm gonna get a husband one day. But here's what I need you to do. Teach me the things that I could do in my marriage to keep that husband. The easy part is getting a husband. The hard part is learning to live with that husband. So have some classes teaching women how to be with husbands. We so twisted now that we think when we see a woman that like honors her husband, or they're like my daughter, when I'm talking to my daughter, and if we're all in there and her husband say, Maggie, she gonna drop everything and go see what he wants. Hold on, y'all, let me fix his plate. Hold on, y'all, let me do this. She's gonna honor her husband. I call them wifey wives. They're going to honor their husband. But we teach women, why would you do that? Why would you do that? And that brings us strife. We need to teach men how to honor their wives. For example, my grandson, one of my grandsons was mad because he said she wanted me to carry the bags of clothes out to the car and they were her clothes. I said, well, if you're a whole man sitting in my house, I ain't carrying nothing.
Yeah.
Why should she have to carry? He said, what? I said, when you got a whole man sitting in your home, you should not have to lift or carry anything. If you guys are going to be in this relationship, you better learn how to treat each other. But we don't teach our young men how to communicate and be with young ladies. And we don't teach young ladies that it's okay to tell somebody no. See, we've taught people that you don't go against the pastor. You don't talk about the pastor. And therefore, when these men, each one of your stories and other stories I watch have one thing in common. When the pastor or the bishop first came at them, they didn't know why they could say nothing. They lost their voice.
Yeah.
Because if they were to say no, God, they knew it was wrong, but God was going to strike them dead because they went against the pastor. You know what I tell my little great grands? Nobody's supposed to touch you here, there, everywhere. And if somebody try to touch you, you tell them no. And then you come tell your granny and you not in trouble, they in trouble. And I'm going to come pull out the guns on them. You got to teach your kids how to know that this is you. This is your privacy. We don't teach people how to respect virginity anymore. And how special it is to be a virgin. We don't teach sound doctrine on anything. But that's getting all off subject. But men of God need to be men of God. And we as Christians, we need to be proactive. And we need to start sitting up with spiritual eyes on. And if the place that you're worshiping at is not right, leave
immediately.
Stop feeling guilty. Leave. Because you could be sitting up here with the same story.
So here are people saying I should bring you back, right?
Anytime. I'm off Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. I work 3 days a week.
There's a lot of it. Someone say yes, please bring her back, Uncle Solomon. So because there's so much, even if we don't have to talk about your story, but the principles and the values that you've extracted through your story, the lessons in itself.
Yes.
Because I mean, we've spent an hour, 40 minutes already.
Oh my God.
But we only spoke about you maybe for 30 minutes.
Yeah.
A lot of the rest is just, this is it. This is what God was saying. This is what this is the truth. This is the principle behind it that I missed. This is the principle that I learned.
And there's so much in there that we didn't even get a chance to explore. But there are so many warning signs and principles and precepts and things that we need to do and can do, but limitation of time. And that's what I asked God. I said, don't let this be a terror to me, a burden to me. Let it be a testimony to help folks. I'm not ashamed of anything I went through. Everything I went through, I feel like was purposed and part of my plan.
Yeah. And the thing is, freedom in Christ takes away the shame.
Yes.
Except you do not understand what freedom is.
Yes.
Freedom means you're not accountable to any man or woman. You're only accountable to God.
Yes.
And God says, I have forgiven you.
Yes.
I have taken your sins and put it in the sea of forgetfulness.
Yes.
So why should you be ashamed because certain people are speaking? Or, no, I shouldn't share my story, because that's why when I put that whole title of this, the first part of it is a testimony.
I busted out laughing when I saw it. I said, oh my God, look at this. But you know what though? I'm going to share this one thing. There was a time when I was sitting in church and they had this group called Women of Integrity. They called them up there to pray for them. And I was sitting in the back. because I didn't think I was a woman of integrity. And I would cry and I would say, Lord, I'm not even having sex, nothing. Why is it that these men come at me? Is it a light bulb over my head that says whore? And I sat there that evening and the Holy Spirit spoke to me and he said, no, it's not a light bulb over your head. That's how you perceive yourself.
Spirit.
I had to stop seeing myself as that. Now, because I think totally different and my attitude is totally different, my essence is different. Now, most guys are scared to approach me because I'm like, they think I'm super serious. But I mean, when you change and God starts changing you, yes, I lost 160 something pounds. Yes, I love to change hair and I love my makeup. But here's the thing. I don't look like what I've been through, and I thank God for that.
And it's spirit.
Mm-hmm.
It's spirit.
Yeah.
The place where you are spiritually would attract
a different type of people.
Different kind of people.
Yes.
Because the spirit could see your spirit.
Yes.
Even if you don't have a light bulb on top of your head. But the spirit could connect to your spirit.
When you really know God for yourself, those charlatans, they tend to stay away from you. They don't call you out. They don't try to pray for you. They don't lay hands on you. If they say anything, they'll say, young lady, ma'am, the Spirit of God told me to tell you everything he doing, he gonna do for you himself. I know. I know. And you know what? It's okay to tell a person, no, don't lay hands on me. Don't anoint me. If you ain't feeling good about it in your spirit, don't accept it.
Yeah, true. Totally.
We have to stop thinking that what we're feeling and what we're thinking is against God. 99% of the time, 99 is God already telling you this is not of me, but we push it back. Like I tell my grandkids, when you go here, if you feel this, hear this, get out of there. And they do it. I said, listen to the Holy Spirit when he talks. Stop thinking that it's just you. It's not just you. Even when you're a baby in Christ, he will guide you and tell you little things and give you these feelings, but we'll shake it off thinking it's us being negative. It's not you being negative. It's God saying, warning, Will Rogers, get out of there.
That's right. And I tell you what, I'm going to bring you back so we can deal with another topic. I know you have quite a lot of that experience. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for your passion.
Thank you.
Thank you for your passion. Thank you for not allowing your gangster to come out on us. One of the two things that you said is very profound, and that I want everyone watching to live with this is, first, you need to get a prayer life. If you want to stay away from sin.
Yes.
You want to walk with God. First, get a prayer life.
Yes.
Secondly, study the word of God for yourself.
Even
if it's just, like she said, even if it's just one verse a day. This morning, my wife and I have been reading the Old Testament. This morning, we wake up like 6 in the morning and then we study a chapter, 2 chapters a day. This morning, we read from 1 Kings chapter 7. That's what we do. For me, that's the most important part of our spiritual lives. Not when I go to church on Sunday.
Yeah.
No. No, that is where I know who God is for myself. So when she is saying get a prayer life and also get a Bible study life, devotional life, that is key. She's been through it. She's seen it. She's found it, and it's working for her. She's a gorgeous 61 mother, grandmother, great-grandmother. Thank you so much, Teresa. Please go visit the live feed of this broadcast. There's just so many comments here that I cannot just, people, how they appreciate your testimony, what you shared. It's just too much. But I want you to take time and go through it and experience it yourself.
I will. I will.
There's just so much of it. But again, thank you so much. She said, Mimi is saying she must come back and finish this ministry. This is called. Anyway, there's so many of them. You know, there's so many of such comments that we don't have the time for me to put up here. But thank you so much. Really appreciate you. May the Lord bless you and may He continue to lead you. And please, this is your story. People need to hear. Your story is not an American story. No. It's a global story. Your story will be relevant in Brazil. It will be relevant in India. It will be relevant in Nigeria or Kenya. To be relevant up there somewhere in Poland, in Europe. This is God's story. It's not a Teresa story. So thank you so much and God bless you.
Thank you, Solomon. You have a beautiful evening and thank you guys.
Thank you so much. That's Teresa Graham. Such an amazing story that, you know, please, I want to encourage everybody, share this video. Take it and share it and do whatever. Comment, and there are so many people that can connect to this. I'm sure like maybe 95% of us, one way or the other, we connected to this and we learned something. So I just want to encourage you to please do that. Please, guys, subscribe to this YouTube channel and share these videos and do whatever you want to do. And may the Lord